number of questions that came in, and I'm going to try to answer as many as I can, but I'm not going to have enough time to answer all of them, but that just means I'm going to need to do more live videos, so that's great, because I love doing them. So one of the things that people were asking about is crating a dog, and a crate is so important. I don't know how I would exist without crates. My dogs love them. They're natural dens to a dog. That's what they would live in the wild. They would have a place where they would crate that would be sort of their man cave, so to speak, where they can go and be quiet and be at peace. It's sort of like a bassinet or a crib for a baby. So every dog needs a crate, in my humble opinion. And I think it's great for you to get your dog used to the crate, even if you don't believe in them or you don't like them. At some point, your dog's probably going to have to be crated at a vet's office or a boarding facility. It makes it a lot easier for those veterinary professionals to handle your dog when they're not having meltdowns when they go into crates. So the question would be, if you have a puppy, how long can you have? What's the best way to use the crate, and how would you go about putting the dog in the crate in the evening? So my recommendation would be that you try not to get the dog too riled up, the puppy really riled up before bedtime, because the more active they are before bedtime, the more they're going to want to drink water, and the more they tank up on water, then the more they're going to have to go potty in the middle of the night. So you don't want that, because your goal is going to be to use the crate for housebreaking purposes. It's without a doubt the absolute best way to crate train to housebreak your dog is to use a crate. So what I would recommend is that you feed your pup early. If you have a puppy that's under 6 months old, you're probably going to be feeding him 3 times a day anyway. So I would exercise him and feed him, maybe give his last meal sometime in the late afternoon, and then have access to water all day. Do not put water in his crate. That's very important. I never put water inside of a dog's crate, but I give them constant access to it. But then about an hour before I crate them up at night, I withhold the water. So I'll pull the water from outside or from wherever, so that the dog doesn't have an opportunity to have a full belly of water before he goes to bed, because I want to set him up for success and not failure. So I do that, and then I crate him up in a nice quiet place. Sometimes they will get a little bit yippy or yappy about it, especially if they've been coddled prior to that, which is another reason that I recommend highly that you don't just use a ton of affection with your new dog right off the bat. You want to gradually build the relationship that you have with your dog, and don't have it, you want a foundation is basically what you're looking for. A foundation that's more than just affection. Over all of these years of doing dog behavior work, I would have to say that over 90% of my problem dogs that come in, their problems began because they got excessive amounts of affection and not enough discipline, not enough structure, not enough rules and guidance. Okay, looks like I had to move. All right, I hope this is still working and I haven't lost you guys. So I just moved over a little bit to get a little better connection. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, as you can see. This is my background. I'm out in the middle of the country on the Central Coast in California, so the wireless issue here is pretty bad. But in any event, crate your dog up, and initially he may give you a little bit of trouble and rant and rave about it a little bit. Just put him in a dark place, give him plenty of exercise during the day, make sure that he's not crying because his belly is full of water. If so, get him out and let him go potty. But what I don't want you to do is start to build a relationship with a puppy where he begins to cry all night, and you respond to that by letting him out, because then he'll start crying every time he wants out, and then you've got a real problem you're going to have to undo. So that's what I want to tell you about the crate training part. And then I'm looking here at some other questions that came through today. Jumping on people. Somebody asked, they said they already had kind of let their dog do that without realizing that they were actually training the dog to jump on them. And this person said, I've already had my puppy for a little while, and I've sort of encouraged him to jump. Is it too late? No, it's never too late. Just begin to correct that behavior now, and you might try stepping into him when he does that. There's a lot of different ways that you can get him off of you, but certainly at the very least don't encourage it by petting him, by leaning over and petting him. And make sure that your guest and your family and everyone else is on the same page. You have to have consistency. Just like if you were to raise a child, you don't want one parent telling your child one thing and the other parent telling the child something else, right? Because then you're going to have a lot of confusion in the household, and it will create problems. Okay, so The other questions, let's see. Oh, feeding time. Okay, feeding. Someone asked how soon they feed a raw diet, which I also use a raw diet. I use Wendy Volhardt's Natural Diet Foundation 2, or NDF2 as we refer to it as. I believe in it 1,000%. My dogs thrive on it. I think it's the best diet out there, and it's very convenient because the food that she makes, you actually mix with your own protein, so it's not something that you have to. I tried doing it from scratch. Trust me, if you if you want to do anything else in life other than make dog food, don't try it, because it took me forever just to go grocery shopping for all the ingredients. So that's what I use, and that's what this person uses that contacted me and wanted to know how soon she could begin using the raw food for her dogs. From the very beginning, that's my answer. I had a litter of puppies that I rescued last year that came in, and one of them broke with parvo almost immediately, and all of them had been exposed to it. So of course my fear was that everyone was going to come down with parvo, which would have been a disaster. The dog that got parvo actually survived and is in a home now and is doing beautifully. But one of the things I wanted to do was to give my dogs the total advantage of surviving, or hopefully not even breaking with a disease. So I began feeding raw right away, and they did great on it. There's no specific time that you need to wait. If that's the diet of your choice, go ahead and start using it right off the bat. It's very natural and good for your dogs. Whatever, there's lots of different raw diets on the market. I just happen to mention the one that I like, but there are many of them out there, and I suspect over the next few years there are going to be far more than just a few on the market, because a lot of the companies are going that direction. I think I'd already answered about leaving food or water in the crate. Now you can feed your dog in the crate. Nothing wrong with that at all. I feed a lot of my dogs in the crate. But when I do, I put them in the crate. I ask them to wait, to sit and give me some eye contact. Then I give them their food, let them eat, and then I take the bowl out. So I don't see any reason for leaving the food in there. I want their crate to be nothing more than a place for them to go and rest and relax and sleep and so on. So someone else asked about leashes and how soon they could begin using a regular leash with a dog. And their concern was that, of course, the dogs have, everyone's always concerned about the trachea and whether a certain leash is not the right choice for a dog because their trachea is soft, their bones are soft, so on and so forth. So what I try to do when I get a puppy in is, first of all, puppies are natural followers. They follow their mother without leashes in their natural world. And when you get puppies in, if you've ever had a whole litter of puppies, there's nothing more fun than to start walking and look around and here's the whole herd following you, because that's their inclination, is to follow without leashes when they're young. So what I try to do is right off the bat, I want the dog to, and this is very important, to get comfortable with the sensation of the leash around their neck, okay, because they've never felt anything like that before. So the last thing you want to do is just out of nowhere put a leash over a dog's neck and then begin pulling him forward, because that's going to immediately give him a bad association to the leash. So what I do is I often use those vet leads, the super lightweight vet leads that are either braided or they're just flat nylon leads. They don't weigh anything at all. And the beauty of them is if they are chewed up by the dog, it's not that big of a deal. If they ruin one of your leashes when it's just a cheapo, vet lead. So what I do first is I put that leash on the dog and let him get used to that sensation, that feel of the nylon leash around their neck before I ever put any pressure on it. Then what I'll do is I'll start walking. Let the dog follow me, because they always do, and let them drag that leash. So then they go from understanding what it feels like to have that cloth around their neck, and then they start feeling, experience what it feels like to have them dragging that weight of that leash, okay? And then from there, this is the third thing I do. I pick up the leash, and then I move whatever direction that puppy is going in. So I don't necessarily ask him to follow me at that point, because I want to have that leash around him, have him feel that I have the other end of the leash, but I'm going to move with him. I'm not going to move against him. So I'm not subjecting him to something that feels very awkward to him right off the bat. And then gradually I will begin to walk and guide him lightly with the leash. I've never had a problem. Frankly, I've really never had a problem with it. I also don't have a problem with a leash being around a dog's neck, only because my dogs don't pull. So, and dogs that do pull are making a decision to pull against the leash, and all they have to do is to relax by my side. if they don't like the pressure on their neck. Now, of course, you're probably aware that I have a line with my partner, Brian. I have a line of leashes that go around the muzzle, and we call it the power loop. They're Lucas Agnew leashes, and they can be found on our website, lucasagnew.com. And the way they work is they go, it's actually a slip lead, similar to an English slip lead, made out of very good material that's similar to climbing rope. It's got a 30% shock absorption, so if the dog gets to the end of the leash, it's not going to snap them at all around the neck. And then what you do is you twist it. I should have brought one on the camera, but I'll do it next time. You twist it in front, you make the loop really big, you twist it, and then you make like a figure 8 and put that over the dog's muzzle, and then it ends up going actually underneath their chin right here. It doesn't even go around the neck. And that controls the whole head with very, very little pressure at all, because it's controlling around the muzzle. So that's also a very effective way to go. The problem with harnesses is that harnesses are designed for pulling. That's what they use in the Iditarod. That's what you want to use when you've got a dog that needs to pull something like a cart, because that way they can put their whole body weight into it and pull you right down the street or pull you wherever. So I would not recommend a harness at all unless your dog has a legitimate medical issue with their neck where they really can't handle, they have a choking problem or some sort of an issue, they've maybe had surgery around their neck, and your vet recommends that. So I'm certainly not going to contradict what a vet tells you to do, but I've seen people being dragged down the street with dogs on harnesses, and it's not pretty. And I certainly couldn't do it when I'm walking 12 or 14 dogs at a time. I would be doing face plants all day. So I hope I've answered about as many questions as I probably can for this first one. Let's see. Jumping on people. Okay, all right, nobody's going to like this one. Maybe I shouldn't end with this one. But my recommendation for you is to not sleep with your puppy. I know that that's going to break your heart, and you're probably never going to want to watch me again. But it's a very bad habit to get into with your dog. Let your dog sleep in a crate in your room. I'm not suggesting that he doesn't sleep with you. Again, my whole philosophy with dogs is always never take anything away from a dog. Just give everything to your dog on your terms, not theirs. Okay? So it's nice when the pack can sleep together. It helps create that bond and helps that bond move forward. It's a good foundation for your dog to be able to sleep with the pack. But when they're sleeping at right in the bed, they're sleeping at the same physical level with you. And I can't tell you how many dogs that have developed horrible issues because they end up sleeping with their owners, and they also then can't distinguish between, well, if you let them sleep in bed with you, why can't they get on the furniture with you? And then pretty soon there are no boundaries in the home at all. And then the worst part is, if you travel with your dog or if you take your dog to someone else's home, then you have the embarrassing problem of your dog getting up on someone else's furniture, and you can't very well say, well, I kind of trained him to do that in a way. So get a nice crate. I love the Very Kennels or the Pet Portals or whatever they're called, the airline approved plastic ones. I like them much more than the steel ones because they can actually break out of a steel one and actually hurt a canine. If they're really relentless about trying to get out, they can break a canine. But they're inexpensive, they're lightweight, they're easy to clean, and they're more enclosed, and dogs tend to really like that den feeling. So get a crate, put it in your bedroom. They're so inexpensive, you could have one in your bedroom and you could have one in your kitchen or living area or wherever you tend to hang out. And then put a nice little bed in there and put your doggy to bed there, and then he's with you, but he's not on top of you and he's not stealing your pillow and pushing you off the bed and upsetting your spouse. So think about all those good things that you'll accomplish by not sleeping with your dog. And on top of that, he won't grow up feeling, he'll understand that that you're in a different status in the pack. So you're up on the bed, he's on the floor on a nice in a nice crate, or in a pillow, but I would recommend a crate right off the bat if he's young. Okay? So I hope I answered at least some of your questions. Please continue to, you can comment underneath this post if there are some things that you'd still like me to discuss, and it doesn't have to be just about puppies, because I'm going to be doing these on a regular basis. So I'll try to kind of do them in such a way that we can have certain topics that we address. So please let me know, because I love answering questions and I love doing things on the fly, much more than being scripted. It's a lot more fun, a lot more natural.